Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, 3 more countries added to the Bahamas' travel ban list. Teachers expressing concern over how the spread of the coronavirus will affect them and students. We take a look inside the police force's fire branch. Plus, QC goes for 3 straight at BAISS, but SAC's Big Red Machine would have none of that.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. To date, health officials in the Bahamas have not conducted a single COVID-19 test, according to a Ministry of Health official who said there has been no need. This as government placed a travel ban on 3 more countries.
Globally, we've noted that there are certain countries, yes, that have had definitive evidence of local transmission. And so, yes, some countries have been added to our restriction list.
With the novel coronavirus being blamed for the deaths of over 100 people in both Italy and Iran and dozens more in South Korea, those 3 countries have joined China on a travel ban list implemented by the Bahamian government. Dr. Felicia Greenslade, surveillance unit lead physician at the Ministry of Health, says determining which countries to ban travel from has been tricky when you consider some countries like the United States, which has confirmed over 200 cases and over a dozen deaths.
Well, for the U.S., we're watching and we're waiting because we have to see how well they handle their situation in terms of their testing, their numbers, their outcomes, all those things we're looking at. All those things we're monitoring, just how we monitor every other country. We definitely have to look at what's happening in the U.S. and in Canada.
While government expects a decrease in foreign arrivals because of the virus, not many visitors come in from Iran or South Korea, which Dr. Greenslade says is a good thing. But with many Bahamians frequently traveling to and from the U.S., just how useful is a travel ban anyway?
The general feeling really is that restrictions aren't going to be of much benefit because at that point, if you're speaking a pandemic, that's something that's global. So restricting travel isn't going to make that much of a difference because people are still moving relatively freely right now.
As of this morning, 3 Bahamians remain in quarantine, with 1 just entering quarantine yesterday after recent travel to China. Dr. Greenslade says while the Bahamas has the COVID-19 tests in country, there has not been a need to use any of them.
We haven't had the need to. You base it on case definition in terms of how someone presents and their symptomology. So you look in terms of where have you been? Have you been around someone who already has been definitively diagnosed with COVID? Or if you have a respiratory illness that is so severe and we don't know what other cause it could be, those are the persons you test for COVID.
And as the world scrambles to deal with the deadly virus, Dr. Greenslade says it's important for Bahamians to get the facts. She said people must remember it's still flu season, so any cough or cold shouldn't be cause for panic.
So if you're having a concern, you travel to an area where you know that cases have been, and this can happen on the Family Islands, it happens here, or it can happen at any private facility. All our healthcare providers are aware of this response plan. Call into your healthcare provider. Let them know what your concerns are, simply because we recognize that most persons are not going to need to be in hospital. We know that. A good number of persons are going to have mild disease, and we can actually tell them if you can safely quarantine at home, do that.
Teachers raising concern tonight over steps being taken to protect them and students amid the spread of the coronavirus. Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says she has no confidence in the Ministry of Education, saying she hasn't seen any plans put in place, nor simple things like hand sanitizers around school campuses. That's why she says the union held a forum today to receive training and advice from the Ministry of Health.
That's why I took the proactive approach and I reached out to Dr. Dwayne Sands and said to our shop stewards, hey, we have to get this information so that the shop stewards now will go back to their various schools and they will get the information out not only to their students, but even to administration and to other teachers.
Several schools in the U.S. have closed down temporarily and are facilitating homeschooling due to confirmed cases in some areas. Wilson said with students preparing for BJCs and BGCSEs, she will call a meeting with Ministry of Education officials to determine a course of action in the event the coronavirus spreads to the Bahamas.
That's one of my major concerns. And even in our negotiations, what we've been doing now over the last several weeks, even in negotiation sessions, I would have said to education personnel, if the coronavirus outbreak comes to the Bahamas, then I hear you all touting technology. How will we use the technology to reach our students? So that will be a part of the conversation that I, as president, and my union executives will have with education to see if there's an outbreak and schools have to close, then how do we still reach the children through technology?
Well, opposition leader Philip Davis slamming what he termed government's obvious confusion over Bahamas Power and Light's bond delay. On Thursday, BPL Chairman Dr. Donovan Moxey said the rate reduction bond fee that Bahamas Power and Light previously said it would introduce to its customers this month is being affected by the impact of the new coronavirus. With worldwide fear surrounding the virus impacting certain international markets, Moxey said this means that BPL would also have to consider how the bond market is faring.
Obviously, an area of concern for us is really one of timing. Given the fact with the coronavirus and what's going on in the U.S. equity markets, we're trying to assess how that could possibly affect the bond market for us. And so there may be certain windows that we have to look at to determine exactly when we go to market with the bond. So that's definitely something that we're looking at.
However, Davis said while Moxey gave the Nassau Guardian that explanation, Works Minister Desmond Bannister told another newspaper that investor comfort or the lack thereof was holding up the process. Davis said the opposition is not surprised by the apparent ball of confusion and insisted the government has yet to come clean on this matter. In other news, as the opposition continues to agitate for government to table the heads of agreement for the sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort, a former tourism minister is weighing in on the matter. Berthany McDermott reports.
Following the signing of that heads of agreement for the Grand Lucayan Resort, former Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe says there are a number of questions that government still needs to answer. His comments come days after government signed the heads of agreement for the Grand Lucayan Resort for the buying price of $50 million. Tourism Minister Dionisio Diagler admitted to Parliament this past week that government suffered losses in operating the hotel but insisted the future economic benefits will outweigh losses that government suffered. Wilchcombe, the former MP for West End and Bimini, said while the deal is welcomed by Grand Bahamians, residents are left with many questions.
It's welcomed, but at the same time, the government has not explained what has transpired. In fact, we don't know how much money was spent. We don't know what the loss is. We don't know what the government conceded and the incentives or the concessions given. We don't know all the details.
PLP Deputy Leader Chester Cooper insisted that government table the heads of agreement. It's unclear if or when that will happen. Deals signed by previous governments, including the last PLP administration, were never tabled. However, Wilchcombe insisted government must table the agreement in the interest of transparency and accountability.
So yes, they do have to table the heads of agreement because you have to analyze the heads of agreement. I think there's some things in that we want to be sure of. For instance, you're going to shut down the Lighthouse Hotel. If you do that, and based on what I've read, you're going to lose those employees. So what is going to happen to those employees? What's the plan for them? Because you're not telling us you're going to lay off 250 more people in Grand Bahama. Something's wrong with that picture.
Wilchcombe added that while he supports government's decision to purchase the resort, he does not agree with the way it was done. He also called on the Minister administration to be more open-minded in its plans for that island.
You cannot cause Grand Bahama to be Nassau or Paradise Island. It must become a different destination. Grand Bahama has, in my view, the opportunity to become the leading destination in the region and the newest destination in the region. You just have to think about what's needed next and what should we be doing now. We have to create an appeal for the Generation X, Generation Y, the millennials. We have to create a new appeal. And if you do that, I think it could be successful. So I think there are many questions to be answered, but more particularly, I believe that the government has not given the broad thinking of it.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
The chemistry unit of the Royal Bahamas Police Force reporting an increase in the number of methamphetamines being brought in for testing at its lab, according to forensic chemist Inspector Tamara Campbell, who says those illegal drugs are being taken off the streets.
Now we're seeing a lot of the amphetamine type stimulants, or what they call the MPS, new psychotropic substances. We're seeing a lot of that on the rise lately. So we're seeing amphetamines, we're seeing methamphetamines, we're seeing MDMA. Crystal meth is, a name that they call the methamphetamine. Also ecstasy, that's the type of name they call the MDMA, or methylene methamphetamine.
According to 2019 crime stats, there were 16 categories of pharmaceutical drugs seized in large quantities. Among the drug seizures were 966 amphetamine tablets, nearly 1,900 Xanax tablets, 45 semi-synthetic opioid tablets, 2,500 ecstasy tablets, and 169 methamphetamine tablets, and 1,055 oxycodone tablets. Still to come, a look at the daily dangers firefighters face. Plus, which former PLP MP is hoping to secure a nomination in 2022. Stay tuned.
With Trio, you can get everything and more. Get 150% download speed increase than if you got internet alone, an enhanced television experience, and 15 phone features, all for, wait, it's still $99? But we boosted the internet speed. I'm just asking. Okay, fine. Just call 601-2200 and tell them that you want Trio, TV, phone, internet for $99. Powered by Rev. You and us together.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. Firefighting is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. With each call, the men and women assigned to the Royal Bahamas Police Force's Fire Services branch face life or death situations like the weekend incident that left 3 officers injured. In this report, Jason Brown takes an inside look at the department.
The work of the fire department is often confined to just a few lines in the crime report, but the work of firefighters is vital to saving lives and property, and we found out from those firefighters just what it takes every single day. Since January, firefighters have responded to more than 270 calls, making them one of the busiest units on the force. Manning the department is more than 60 officers who work shifts to keep the station up and running for a full 24 hours. We got a first-hand look at just how busy they are after what started off as a drill quickly turned into the real deal after a fire call came in. Those who don the gear and head out each day know they are risking their lives. Firefighters are susceptible to burns, smoke inhalation, and crush injuries from collapsing structures. They also can suffer from heat exhaustion, as well as long-term job-related illnesses such as asthma, persistent coughing, heart disease, cancer, and lung damage. Despite the risks, the firefighters we spoke to say they suit up every day because it's a burning passion that inspires them to fight one of the most destructive forces on Earth. Officer in charge of fire investigations, Kisa Roll, has been on the job for more than 10 years. She says she knew she wanted to be a firefighter from the age of 6.
Growing up as a child, I witnessed a few homes in the area burn down, and I saw how sad the persons felt, and I said, you know what, I want to be able to help persons out whenever they come across those situations.
For others who haven't been on the force that long, it's also a passion. Constable Alexander Hunter has been at the department for just 2 years, but he says he has found purpose in helping others.
It's a rush, and two, at the same time, you have to also realize that there are lives at stake, and you're also risking your life. So at the very least, you have to be cautious.
That's a lesson these firefighters say they can never forget. One they say they were reminded of over the weekend when 3 of their fellow officers were injured after police say an arsonist destroyed an unoccupied building at the Persis Rogers Home for the Aged. While firefighters were attempting to extinguish the blaze, the building collapsed, injuring 3 officers. Those officers were treated and later released from hospital. Inspector Damaris Ambrister says it's a moment the department will never forget.
It wasn't easy. I mean, whenever you have any injuries to your fellow officers, it's never easy. Those are good officers, hardworking officers, and the job that we do is not an easy one. So whenever you leave the station and you're responding to any situation, anything is possible. Your life is at risk.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Former PLP MP Obi Wilchcombe says he will seek the nomination from the Progressive Liberal Party for West, Grand Bahama, and Bimini ahead of the 2022 general election. Wilchcombe served 3 terms in Parliament before losing his seat in the 2017 general election to Bakisha Parker Edgecombe.
It's a process, and I'm working with my former constituents and hoping they become my constituents again. But we've been doing a lot of work, and I've been on the ground, walking about, talking to people. But it's a process, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to secure it.
In the next general election, Wilchcombe says the party will present a team with a wealth of wisdom and...
I think you're going to have a combination. It's like the Bible says, you have the wisdom and you have the youth and the energy. So I think you need a combination. I think you will have that. I think more importantly, though, it's going to be message. I'd like to see us discuss in detail a message about what Grand Bahama should be as we move forward.
Still to come, the Bahamas kicks off charter season with its first charter show. Plus, the Big Red Machine back on top. Stay tuned.
With Trio, you can get everything and more. Get 150% download speed increase than if you got internet alone. An enhanced television experience and 15 phone features, all for, wait, it's still $99? But we boosted the internet speed. I'm just asking. Okay, fine. Just call 601-2200 and tell them that you want Trio, TV, phone, internet for $99. Powered by Rev. You and us together.
Captain Minnie Mouse and her Disney crew visited the LJM Maritime Academy this morning to award 4 female cadets with full scholarships. President of the LJM Maritime Academy, Brenda May Claire, said the scholarship will cover 3 years of training, and once the cadets have completed their exams, they are guaranteed jobs with Disney.
This is what we've been dreaming of for the few years that we've been in place, to have partnerships with shipping companies like Disney. And they have stepped in about almost a year ago, and we've been negotiating back and forth. And they've actually come forth and actually is paying full scholarships for these 4 young ladies. And so to us, this is actually the beginning of something greater to happen. And we believe if they're setting the pace, we believe all the other shipping companies will fall in line.
Claire said they are still working hard to keep the Academy's doors open after hard-hitting times in 2016. However, things are looking up with the promise of a public-private partnership with the government.
In 2016, that sponsorship was withdrawn, and so we were left to fend for ourselves. And we're still fending for ourselves, so therefore we are trying our best to keep the doors open. We've been begging and asking sponsors to come forward and assist us, and that looks pretty good. I'm understanding that the government has also deemed us to be the maritime college for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, so that will augur well once we've completed the public partnership with government. We have not completed that as yet. We're still in the discussion stages of it, but we understand it was approved in Cabinet for us to become the National Maritime Institution.
One of the cadets who received the scholarship, Paula Green, said the possibilities are now endless.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege to receive a scholarship from the Disney Cruise Line organization, and here at LJM we really do hamper down on discipline and academics, and we hope to carry on what we learn in school on the cruise vessel.
The Ministry of Tourism kicked off the 2020 charter season over the weekend with the inaugural Bahamas Charter Show. Following the devastation caused by Hurricane Dorian last year, tourism officials sought to remind the yachting industry that the Bahamas is still open for business. The 4-day event celebrated luxury yachts that often anchor in Bahamian waters and gave charter brokers the opportunity to mingle with yacht captains and crews.
Many brokers are stepping on island for the first time ever, even though that they have booked charters in Nassau, in the Exumas, in Harbor Island and beyond. This is the first time they're actually putting their feet on the soil, hearing the sounds of the Bahamas, tasting the food, feeling the culture, understanding distances from airports to marinas.
The Bahamas is one of my favorite yachting destinations, so we want to make sure that everyone else knows that too.
Okay.
The weekend of events included a Marinas of Nassau tour, yacht viewing, leap year party, and brokers dinner. Director General in the Ministry of Tourism, Joy Gibralou, called the charter show an exciting moment for the Bahamas.
It is so important to be able to expose brokers, crew, to what the Bahamas has to offer. And the fact that we have well over 20, we're calling them boats, but yachts, in Nassau that people can see. It is, again, an opportunity, tremendous experience, and the beginning of what I believe will be something great for us in the Bahamas.
I'm Marcellus Hall. Coming up in Sports for tonight, Big Red Machine claiming the title in the BISS Track and Field Championships. And we'll also tell you how things are set up for the All-Star festivities in Night League basketball. Just ahead in sports.
With Trio, you can get everything and more. Get 150% download speed increase than if you got internet alone. An enhanced television experience and 15 phone features, all for, wait, it's still $99? But we boosted the internet speed. I'm just asking. Okay, fine. Just call 601-2200 and tell them that you want Trio TV, phone, internet for $99. Powered by Rev. You and us together.
Welcome to our Sports on a Friday, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Well, it came right down to this. Final day of competition, BISS Track and Field Championships. Action going right down to the wire, if you believe it or not. Let's take you right now to those highlights. BISS Track and Field Championships coming right down to the final day of competition over at the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium. 200-meter finals, one of the major highlights of the day. Also on the agenda, the finals for the 800 meters, 400 hurdles, and of course the 4x400 meters to end the meet. Both the QC and SAC fans in full attendance for this one, as at the end of the day, it would be the Big Red Machine holding off the Comets with a three-day total of 1,287 points. QC would settle for second with 1,272.5 points, followed by St. John's in third with 676 points, St. Anne's fourth with 417.83 points, and Temple Christian rounding out the top five with 359.33 points. SAC coach Jason Edwards on the wing.
I think it's one of the most hard-fought BISS in the history of this track and field meet. The kids are resilient. I couldn't ask anything more. They stepped up to the plate, and whatever we asked to do with them, for them to do, they came around, they did it.
Grand Bahama High School track meet also going on. As of this morning, Sister Mary Patricia Russell led the junior division with 402 points, followed by Tabernacle, Bishop Eldon, Jack Haywood, and Sunland in the top five. Tabernacle leading the junior senior division with 475.5 points heading into the day, followed by St. George's, Jack Haywood, Sunland, and Bishop Michael Eldon to round out the top five there. New Province Volleyball Association Championships getting started tonight, with both ladies and men's series getting underway over at the Donald Davis Gym. On the ladies' side, the defending champion Panthers, they'll take on the Lady Warhawks at 7:30. That'll be followed by the Warhawks and the Defenders in Game 1 of the men's championship series there. New Province Women's Basketball Association, they'll host their All-Star festivities on Saturday. That's going to be at D.W. Davis as well. Action set to begin at 6:30 with the Skills Challenge and the three-point competition. Financial Bowling League scores saw the Moonlight Strikers defeat Leno Corporate Services 2-1 to Light and Touche. They beat Strike Force 2-1. Zadness Hill Thrillers over Kirky Bar Brawlers 2-1, and Rubus Oil Stars over the BTC Nighthawks 2-1. Your top five teams led by Kirky Bar Brawlers, followed by the BTC Nighthawks, Moonlight Strikers, Delight and Touche, and Rubus Oil. And that's a Friday Night Look at Sports. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall for Our Sports.
Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the go with the RevGo Play app. And congratulations to the Big Red Machine. Have a good evening, Bahamas.